What is up, everyone? We are here. I am here live with LouBetya and Uncle Weezy, and we are going to be breaking down UFC 289 from bottom to top. Lou, how you feeling about this card?
Well, this is my first show of the day. And by first, I mean this is my fifth show of the day. And I am still excited. I still have all the energy. Thank you for having me. The roles have reversed. You are no longer on the prop show. I am now on your show. And as always, a pleasure to work with the not older than me, Uncle Weezy, one of my favorites. So let's bang this out, man. It's a pay-per-view. I found some spots finally. I had the moment of clarity that I liked, so I'm ready.
Oh yeah, Weezy, how you feeling about this card?
I like it a lot, man. From a gambling perspective, I'm lukewarm on it, but I think it's a great card. There are really some fun fights on this one. Even the curtain jerker, I think, will be a high volume, fun fight. So I'm looking forward to talking about all these fights today. So let's break it down.
Yeah, I'm actually really excited for this card. I know we lost a couple of fights. I think we lost like three fights. But yeah, I mean the main card, I didn't really like the main card looking at it before I did film, but once I really got into the film, I'm like, okay, well, this this card looks better when I think the fights are going to be happening live than it does on paper, and I think it's going to deliver. And the prelims are pretty good as well, so I'm definitely ready to get into it. And I know my guy Mushroom MMA is ready to get into it. What's up, Prop, Lou, and Weezy? What a fire panel. Let's fucking go. Thank you for tuning in, Mushroom, and Dixon as well. And we can get into the first fight.
Can we talk about these are the three best accents in the world, by the way? We got Chicago, Philly, and New York all centralized in one.
It's one big panel, man. Mushroom's got sneak watching at work. Oh man.
I bet he's sneak watching with a live resin vape.
and his nice big dinners. Mushroom, where have your entrees been, man? I haven't seen you post anything recently. You got to start posting more again, man. But we can get into the first fight. We got Diana Belbita versus Maria Oliveira, and I'll start us off. I actually like Belbita in this spot. I think her forward pressure is probably gonna break down Maria Oliveira. I think both ladies are gonna get the fight that they want here. Both ladies are basically losing their minutes on the ground and up against the fence. I think if anyone's gonna go for the takedowns or actually win moments up against the fence, it's probably gonna be Maria Oliveira. I think she's probably gonna be bigger at weigh-ins. She's probably gonna look like the more physical girl, but I really like Belbita's cardio, and I like the way she walks down her opponents. She actually hits pretty hard. She was hurting Hannah Goldie. Like, I know Hannah Goldie is not a really good striker, but she was hurting her bad. And she was hurting Gloria DePaula also up until Gloria DePaula just started kind of pushing her up against the fence. And Belbita didn't really have an answer. I think she's going to break down Maria Oliveira. And Vanessa Demopoulos knocked her down. And she doesn't really have good feints at all on the feet. She just basically she overthrows the right hand. Then she likes to get a takedown off it when her opponents overextend, and that's how she got Maria Oliveira down. And I took a shot. I took a little shot on Belbita by KO at plus 900. I think she's gonna have the better cardio. I think she's gonna walk down Maria Oliveira, and I don't think Oliveira is gonna be able to establish range. So give me Diana Belbita, and I think she could finish Maria Oliveira. Weezy, you want to go next?
Sure. This is one I'm lukewarm on it. I don't really have any bets here, but it's going to be a high volume striking match. I don't really anticipate either of these ladies grappling that much. They've both attempted 4 takedowns in their respective UFC careers. I think it's a combined like 8 fights. So, we don't really feel like we have to count on either of them to grapple. And both of these ladies are landing near 9 significant strikes per minute at distance. So I kind of feel like if this fight does go to decision like most people are predicting, and if it does stay at distance striking range over 75, 80% of the time, look at that over for significant strikes from Maria Oliveira, for Diana Belbita. Those are some spots that might hit on prize picks. But as far as like this one, I kind of feel like it's flip a coin. That's exactly where the bookies have it. So I don't need to have any action on it.
Lou, you got any hot take here? Or
Well, I will be watching the Belmont during this fight, so let me just make that very clear. I will not have a bet on it, but I favor Belbita. Weezy brought up a good point about the amount of takedowns they've both gone for, but I think Belbita would be very smart to at least attack that element of her game and threaten Oliveira. One thing that Liam brought up with me today that I thought was interesting, because Liam is like deep dive master here. He said that Oliveira's doing Brazilian reality TV shows now, that she's kind of like not 100% in camp. She's doing, and like, I don't love these narrative kind of things, but Liam's no dummy. And typically when he brings these things up, he's right more often than he's wrong. Belbita seems to be happy in a new camp now. Is she like, she's training with Kyle Nelson way too much for my liking as a human being? Like, I don't know what's going on there, but at least if she's been active in a good camp, or like, so I think she's with Jasuda Vicious and Kyle Nelson up there. I don't know if anybody else is in that camp that's fighting, but I feel like she's probably the one that should be more active in the striking. I feel like this line's weird, and it's almost like this MMA math shit with the DePaula fight, like where Oliveira completely outkicked her coverage in that fight. What was she, plus 250? There's a crazy number in that fight, right?
I think she was plus 195 at closing odds.
She's a big dog and just completely looked dominant. And then, like, she looked like she had vertigo against Demopoulos, like, touched her leg and fell over. I just think Belbita would be smart. And honestly, she could just steal 2 rounds by doing that. So the pick's Belbita. I think minus 120, you're getting this isn't like laying huge chalk on women's MMA. So I don't think you're getting a bad, like, line here, but, pass for me. I'll be too busy losing my horsey race.
I don't really do DraftKings, but Lou, I know you do, and Weezy, I know you guys do DraftKings shows as well. Like, is Belbita a sneaky play at her salary this week?
I have her in my cash lineup just because I feel like whoever wins that fight is going to score pretty well. They both throw a ton of volume. They both score points, and they both give up a lot of points too. So it kind of has the archetype of fight that I like to target in DraftKings, is when you have 2 high volume fighters who don't even necessarily need a finish in order to score well. Those are good fights to target because you're not going to be disappointed if it goes to decision. Because if somebody's scoring 4 points a minute, let's say, you're getting 90 points in a decision win out of a fighter that's 8,200 or 8,000. That's good enough. It's good enough to, it may not be optimal every week, but it's the kind of fight where if you're targeting it more times than not, you got a good floor. And then if there is a finish, because finishes happen 30% of the time in women's strawweight fights. So then it's just you pile on and you have potential for an even higher score. So nothing wrong with that one if you're liking a high floor option on DraftKings.
Lou, do you like it, or?
I defer to Weezy here. I mean, I would think Belbita is the one with more takedown equity, I guess. Like, she does have more volume historically. I think that the takedown equity is really what you're looking for. So I think what is it, 82.8? This got to be 8,200, 8,000.
Yeah,
right?
That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Okay.
So you're getting a good deal. Also, she's going to be low owned. Like, they're both going to be low owned here. But I'd side with the Belbita side for DK, solely for the takedown equity.
Okay.
And the finish equity. I think if anybody has finish equity here, I'm not saying I think they strongly do. I think Belbita probably has more finish equity. So, yeah, you'd want to side with her. But I wouldn't go too heavy on either one here.
Yeah, that's why I just decided to take a small sprinkle on the KO. And that's pretty nice to hear what Liam said, that she's doing reality TV now. I mean, that kind of makes me feel a little more confident now. So,
and it's Brazilian reality TV. And he said it in Spanish. And it wasn't for Elementos, which is the only reality show I know that's not in America, because like that's all Telemundo plays. And I don't know what's going on with it, but it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, maybe she's making some good side money. Maybe she's making good money on the side.
See.
We got Glenbot, we got Mushroom, we got Dixon as well. Addicted to Combat. Thank you everyone for tuning in. And yeah, we can move on to the second fight. We got David Dvorak versus Steve Erceg. Lou, you want to start us off here?
Yeah, I didn't get this number on Ursig like everybody else did. I know I saw everybody's hammering Ursig. I saw everybody's hammering the submission prop here, and yeah, I just don't see it. Like, I'm not betting this one either because I'm in this economy. I'm never betting Dvorak at this price, but this is a big step down in competition for him. He might be fighting for his job here. I would say, I mean, I know he lost to 2 studs in the division, but Dvorak probably gets cut with a 3rd loss here, especially with the way UFC's bloodletting is going. They're making room for all the new DWCS guys coming in the summer. How many people have we seen get cut the last 2 days? Like 25 fighters. So I would say Dvorak's fighting for his job. It's a big step down in competition. This is a short notice fight too for Ursig. He took it on 7 or 8 days notice. This is supposed to be Matt Schnell, which would have been fire. I'd have loved that fight. So I side with Dvorak for a pick. I gave this away on best bets last night. I kind of like the under because if Ursig's going to win, it's a submission, and I'd like to think it's probably first 7-8 minutes of this fight. With Dvorak's back against the wall, he may need a flashy result to keep his job. And I think a late finish is possible for him too, probably a late KO. I know he has sub equity, but probably a late KO for him is possible. So I'm going to side with the under as the pick at plus 145, or it's plus 140 now on DK. But yeah, I didn't get the Ursig line. If you got him at like plus 350 or whatever, like good for you.
Yeah, I like it.
Get Moyes off my ass.
Who's this Italian guy? Jesus. What's up, Moyes? Weezy, what you got here?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like Dvorak to win this fight by decision. I'm pretty impressed with what I've seen from Ursig, but I mean, you want to talk about a tough road to hoe. I mean, what would you guess the flight from Western Australia to Vancouver is? Something like 28 hours or some shit.
At least it's 24 hours from, like, I think where I am to Australia.
Yeah, dude. And I mean, we're talking about, I mean, of course, it's a little bit further west, that's the way they're coming from. But yeah, I mean, this guy's doing a short notice fight coming from Western Australia to Vancouver. I mean, you want to talk about it, just an absolute nightmare of a trip to take a short notice fight and to try to cut down to 125 when you're already a guy in Ursig who's fought fights at bantamweight. He's had like 3 bantamweight fights in his career. He's been bouncing back and forth between 2 weight classes. Bootsy kind of likes Ursig in this spot because he's a good grappler. He's going to try to get to your back. And frankly, I mean, I think that's the most functional form of grappling that you could possibly have at this level, is being that guy that doesn't necessarily need to get the double leg or the single leg or the body lock, but just says, I'm going to try to get to your back no matter what, like a Grant Dawson does. And when you watch the tape on Ursig, he's not trying to strike. He is going to be pushing the pace. He is going to be trying to get this fight to the ground. And if he doesn't succeed the first 4 times, he's going to try a 5th. And if he doesn't succeed the first 7 or 8 times, he's going to try a 9th, because he doesn't really have the striking to keep up with a guy like Dvorak here. And Dvorak, the reason I like him to win is, I mean, you look at the guys that he's fought thus far at the UFC level, Bruno Silva, and then he's got wins, 3 wins, Bruno Silva, Jordan Espinoza, Juan Camilo Ronderos, and then the losses are the guys you would expect people to lose to Mateus Nicolau, to Manel Kopp. But, he's stuffed 13 of 16 takedowns. So he's seeing, a decent amount of takedowns here. 16 takedowns attempted against him in 5 fights. And he's only given up 3, and he's only allowing 5% control time to his opponents. So, not only do we have that long trip for Ursig, but he's going against an opponent that has kept his fight standing 85% of the time in the UFC. So he's doing what he needs to do in order to be successful against an opponent like Ursig. Add in all the other narrative-based shit, and I'm just going with Dvorak here. But in this economy, I'm not laying minus 260, minus 270 on this guy. No,
in this economy.
Not in this economy. Come on, man. I'm paying $4.50 a gallon for gas out here in Chicago. What was I born yesterday? What am I, a schmuck on wheels? What am I, special?
Man, I mean, in this economy last weekend, Jamie Malarkey minus 500. I know people who I know, Weezy, you cashed last week. Lou, I know you cashed last week as well. I didn't have a bet on the fight, but I mean, the way Malarkey just walked in, too, at a minus 500 favorite with his hands down was just, it was terrible.
Oh, there was a free square last week. That free square was Jim Miller. That free square was not Jamie Malarkey.
Man, he looked dominant. One left hand. It was one left hand. You are very special, Weezy. From Moise.
That's right back at you, Moise. Right back at you.
I actually like Usyk here. I'm not gonna lie. I bet him by sub at plus 600. I like the line. I know his money line now is like plus 235, and I know Dvorak really hasn't faced, like, I know how Usyk likes to get his takedowns is he really likes to get the body lock, then he rides the back, and if he can get your back, like, off one or two takedowns, like a plus 600 on his sub line, I just feel like it's a little bit off. And Dvorak, like, I've seen Dvorak taken down. He was taken down by Bruno Silva, and he was put in a really bad spot against Manel Kape, who Manel Kape, like, he does have good Kimura sweeps, but he doesn't really have the best submission game in the world. And I really like Usyk's submission game. I mean, Usyk is young, and he was training for a grappler wrestler in Clayton Carpenter. So he's been training, and Clayton Carpenter opened up minus 500. Usyk opened up plus 385. Like, he actually opened up, I'm pretty sure, the same line as he did against Carpenter as he did against Dvorak, which is a little bit interesting. So I think this kid Usyk is legit. The UFC's been trying to get him in for a minute now, and I mean, they're putting him up against a top 10 flyweight on short notice. So yeah, I think whoever got in Usyk at plus 385, even plus 300, like even in the plus 275 range, I think it's a great bet. He's probably one of the more live dogs on the card at those odds. And yeah, I think the sub is live. So I just put 0.20 units to win 1.2 units on plus 600.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all.
0.2 units. You're never going to make it in this world betting only 0.2 units.
Not in this economy, man. I'm
never
not going
to make it in this community. Yes, son of a bitch.
Look, Dixon saying Malarkey was free. Yeah.
He was definitely free.
I definitely used the term free square to describe Malarkey before the fight, but I did time off, so at least...
Like, Weezy and I know from, I mean, he's more experienced in DFFs than I am, but I'm no like rookie at this. Like, if you want to win a tournament, you got to go different. And, you know, I even posted a tweet on this, like as soon as he lost, I'm like, well, if you had Naimov, 96% of the field's gone. Because 60% had Malarkey and 36% didn't roster. I'm like, you just wiped out. So just even to have the balls to throw Naimov in like one lineup, like if you had Butler in a lineup or two, that was smart. You just don't know. Like you can't look at the result and say it was a bad play. But everybody was going to have like Weezy. How many people do you think had Malarkey and Miller? Like 50% of the field,
2/3 of the teams. You know, I mean, so why wouldn't you do that?
Right. So like, unless you want to do what Brady did and get like a 380 way chop on like the dot, you know, like you got to play. You got to go a little different some places. And like Monk will tell you this too. Like Naimov. We talked about it on the Friday show. I'm like, are you going to play any Naimov? And he's like, I don't know, man. I'm like, you got to play him in, if you're going to do a 20 max, like throw him in one lineup. You just don't know, dude. Like, and if you played him, that lineup is crazy live to win the whole thing. And guess what, Brandon? You're not trying to cash with all 20 lineups in a GPP. You're trying to cash with one, and you're trying to cash it big. Yeah. Like, that's how you have to look at it.
We can move on to the next one. We got a Blake Builder versus Kyle Nelson. Weezy, you could start us off here.
Yeah, you know, I've got the fight starts round 3 here at minus 115. It's a trifecta bet on my prop template. So minus 115, 53.5% implied probability. That's about almost a 12% difference between that number and the amount of fights that start round 3 in the featherweight weight class, which is 65.3%. Add in the fact that 4 of 6 of Kyle Nelson's fights have started round 3 in his UFC career, and he's fighting guys like Carlos Diego Ferreira, Billy Quarantillo. I mean, he's in there with real dudes, right? While Blake Builder, you know, only one fight. That one did see round 3 as well. So 5 of their 7 combined fights have seen round 3. That's 71.5%. We're only paying 53% on the line. And these guys are going over, they're starting round 3 at a 71% clip. The division starts it at a 65.3% clip. So when we compare all those metrics to determine price and whether we're getting a savings or whether we're overpaying, on all three of those comparisons, we're underpaying. So minus 115 is a nice, cheap fight starts round 3 line. And I'm always looking for overs in the big cage and in the featherweight division, because the featherweight division, for some reason, finishes at a much lower rate than the divisions that sandwich it. Lightweight division, bantamweight division, they're finishing between 49 and 50% of the time. For some reason, the featherweights finish at about 43.5% of the time. So that's a line that I like a lot. The analytics like it a lot. I think we probably got to worry a little bit about a Blake Builder submission, or maybe he lands a big shot, clips him, and then gets to the back and gets a sub. So obviously nothing's a lock, but the data loves it, and I think the stylistic read works as well. I don't see either one of these guys being like really crazy finishers right now at either point in their career. And they're both in their 30s here. They're both 32 years old. Builder is not the younger fighter.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the other side here. I kind of like the fight doesn't go to decision. I bet it at minus 170. Just like stylistically, like I know I've seen Builder hurt. I mean, he gets hurt a lot on the regional scene. And the one thing that I know about Kyle Nelson in round 1, like I went back, I know this was like in 2018, but I mean, he was hurting Diego Ferreira really bad. And that was in Canada. And now we're in Canada 5 years later again, like the narrative behind that. And he has went out there and he was landing good shots against Billy Q. The Jai Herbert fight was the Jai Herbert fight. Like Jai Herbert just didn't even look good that fight either. And he held him on the ground for the whole entire third round because Nelson just fatigued. Like he just accepted bottom. And I feel like Blake Builder is going to bring pressure that's going to make Kyle Nelson use his power a lot when Builder tries to close the distance. And I think Kyle Nelson knows like he could hurt this guy early. And I feel like he's the more physical and more stronger fighter here, but I think Builder's going to have way better cardio, and I think Builder can submit him. I think Nelson makes mistakes on the ground. Like, I know Choi even had him in like a spot where he could have taken the back in a rear naked choke where Nelson just lost position. Like, he took him down in the first round and then he got reversed and then controlled for the last 2 minutes. And I don't know, like Nelson's cardio, I don't like it. And I feel like Builder's a guy who can just absolutely drain him. But I mean, as Dixon's saying, like, Nelson round 1 KO plus 900, like it's completely on the table here. I think if he gets a finish, I think it's gonna be in the first round. So yeah, I like that. Lou, you got anything here? Or
can I honor the late Iron Sheik right now?
Of course, legend.
Fuck the Kyle Nelson. I've had it with betting his unders. I've had it. But yet, if I bet an over, like Weezy's saying I should analytically, then I have to clench my butthole for 13 minutes, and I don't want to do that either here. So I'm laying off this one completely. Here's the betting perspective I'll give you. If Kyle Nelson's win condition is round 1, if he's the most experienced fighter, and all these things are true, take a look at the live line after 1. If you're getting Builder at a very reasonable price, minus 110, even money, I'd take the shot on Builder after 1. I think Builder, his tape is so bad, but it's like his tape doesn't matter. The dude just like kind of wills his way, finds a way. I mean, Shane Young hadn't fought, I think, since the jackpot wad, maybe. He hadn't fought in like 3 years. Builder's getting tagged, and he's like, okay, like, here we go. Now I'm ready. In a hostile environment in Australia, found the way to like, and looked pretty dominant as the fight went on. I think Builder's live late, but I'm just done with these Kyle Nelson unders. Like, I'm done. I'd rather just, if I don't win money because I didn't bet it, like, I don't care. Like, I'm just not touching it. I do think Nelson's win equity is early. I think Builder can take over later. The Builder fade's coming. It's going to be glorious. I just don't think it's here. But look for a live bet spot with Builder after 1. If you get him at like anywhere close to even money, nail it.
Yeah, that's.
And by the way, the Herbert fight was a disgrace. But it happens when you get two guys where their big win path is big shot, and you get a staring contest. And that's what we got in that fight. The Doo Ho Choi one, guy hadn't fought in 4 years. Oh, and also I'm blaming you when I lose this one. Because somebody is DMing me last night, Weezy. Somebody's DMing me during Best Bet saying, oh, when's the yam bag shot? When's the yam bag shot? I'm like, all right, fuck it. Nelson Builder yam bags. It checks some of the boxes. So I want it on record. I'm blaming Propaholic when this loses. If and when it loses. And if it wins, it's 100% me.
I mean, it's a Kyle Nelson fight, man. Anything can really happen. This guy could either get fucking killed in round 1, he could either kill a guy in round 1, or it could look like the last fight and go to a draw. I mean, I know Brady gave out the draw yesterday at plus 6,600 on Best Bet.
Yeah, he's a monster. He wanted to make it his best bet, Weezy. He wanted to win 132 units in one fight.
Oh, well, I mean, you know,
he's a monster.
Sometimes you got to throw your balls in the wheelbarrow and push it around. You know,
66 units isn't enough. He's a monster.
Saying Dixon saying Builder illegal knee to a grounded fighter. Kyle by KO. I mean by DQ. I mean, could happen if Builder gets carried away. Dixon saying he could see it. Moist saying Moist got cherries in the chat.
You know,
I like cherries.
If Nelson wins, then it's just another excuse for Weezy and Brady to look at his profile picture on Tapology again.
We could move on to the next one. We got Alman Zahabi versus Arichi Lang. I could start us off here. I'm not really.
Don't you do it. Don't you do it.
What?
Don't do it.
I was talking about you earlier. It's just a little angle I have on this fight. I don't have really high play into it. I think Arichi Lang's going to win the fight. I think he has more volume. Zahabi just doesn't throw anything. He kind of just waits and sits on an overhand shot, trying to get the one-punch knockout. It's a bad look losing to Vince Morales. It's a bad look only having 4 fights in 6 years. And I know Arichi Lang has 22 more professional fights. He's 6 years younger. I think he's going to have the better cardio, but I think he's going to pressure Zahabi bad, and he's going to really realize early that Zahabi's not throwing anything, and I think he's going to break Zahabi down, but I think Zahabi's going to take him down. I really think Zahabi's going to go to the wrestling. I think Arichi Lang's going to overextend, and I really think Zahabi's live for a submission. I might be crazy. I haven't seen Arichi Lang's BJJ defense tested when he's off his back, and I know Jay Perrin had him in some bad spots, and I just think Zahabi's a pretty good BJJ black belt. He does lessons for I know kids, and he does lessons, and I know his brother is also a high level BJJ guy as well, which I know, and I mean I just like it at plus 1,200. I don't think it's a highly outcome. But if I had to bet something on this fight, that's what I bet. But I'm picking Arichi Lang to win. But I think I'm going to sprinkle round 2 sub at 3,500 and round 3 sub at plus 5,000, because if Zahabi realizes he could take him down early, and he's going to go to it in the second and third round, and if you're giving me a number like that, knowing that Arichi Lang's just going to want to break this guy down, and Zahabi's not going to let it happen. I mean, if he's getting pressured badly on the feet, I think he's going to get a takedown here. So yeah, Zahabi by submission is my bet, but I mean, my pick to win this fight is Arichi Lang. I know Lou absolutely hates it. Lou, you can go.
For fuck's sake. So I like Arichi Lang here quite a bit. I know, he's going against a Canadian. He's minus 120. I think it's reasonable. The only thing I'm going to bring up here, so I can save the real analysis for you guys, is this will be his 3rd fight at 135. He beat Cameron Else. I know Cameron Else stinks. That's fine. Jay Perrin, depending on his results, friend or not friend of the MMA engine, Jay Perrin. If he's winning, he's definitely our friend. Perrin put a pace on it. Perrin knows how to put a pace on people late. That 3rd round, he won against Arichi Lang. I know people were like, it's a 10-8. It was not a 10-8. A 29-28 Arichi Lang was a very fair result. But Arichi Lang now not having to cut that extra 10 pounds, I think he looks good. He's not gassing himself. What the Durden fight was a high cardio paced fight. And Durden is the kind of guy that, even though Durden tires, the amount of scrambling, the amount of grappling that's going to happen in the first 8-9 minutes of this kind of fights with Durden is going to tire anybody out. I think Arichi Lang now can time his shots. If he wants to go grapple heavy the first 10 minutes, I think he can do it without gassing himself out. I don't see this grappling side of Zahabi. And more importantly, I don't see Zahabi putting any kind of pace on a Richie Lang. He'll dictate the pace of this fight. I think he easily wins the first 2 rounds, and then we'll see what happens in the 3rd round. But I think Richie Lang gets this done. And I think minus 120, and the money's coming in on him a little bit now too. So, but I think it's a very reasonable price for a fight with a guy who I think has a clear grappling advantage if he wants to take it.
Weezy.
Yeah, this is going to be the best advice that you're going to get from any capper all week. Don't bet Ayman Zahabi fights. Don't fucking put your money on this clown's fights. He's terrible. He's fucking awful. He does not fight. And I mean, you could say that in so many different ways. A, he doesn't fucking fight because he shows up maybe once a year for a fight. One of the great prospects. This guy lives in a fucking gym, and he doesn't even give a shit enough about the sport to actually show up and pretend like he fucking cares and try to make a living off of it. So the guy doesn't fight. And then when you actually do get a few hands on his ass and you push him up the stairs into the cage and you force him to sign a contract, then he gets in there and he puts on performances like he did against Reginaldo Vieira. Trash. Performance against Vince Morales. Trash. Performance against Ricky Tercios was an affront to MMA fans everywhere. These guys would have got booed out of a regional scene cage for that absolute dog shit fight. So why would you want to bet on a fucking Ayman Zahabi fight? This guy is so bad. He like, who could possibly give a shit about this guy's career at this point? I mean, I know I don't. I cannot believe that the UFC, like, they won't honor the Ghost Peppers fucking contract, but they'll let Ayman Zahabi have another fucking fight. I mean, like, that's how you know your brother is influential. When the UFC actually lets you fight, when you put on dog shit performances like you did against Tercios, Morales, Vieira. You show up once every 18 months for a dog shit fight and we're supposed to care. No, don't care. Don't put your money on it. Take your dog for a walk. Go out and touch grass. Call your parents. Tell them you love them. Do anything but watch or give a shit about this fight.
Great breakdown, Weezy. And what's also like just crazy is he only won 29-28. And Tercio's like, if there was a crooked judge, I mean, could Tercios have possibly like stolen a judge's scorecard if we weren't in the Apex Center?
Potentially, I don't know, man. Like, I'm not going back and analyzing that fucking trash fight. It's 17 minutes of my life I won't get back, and so it's not going to happen.
Yeah. Can move on to the next one. I honestly think it's better than the last fight. We got Jasmine Javicius versus Miranda Maverick. Lou, you want to start us off here?
Well, you and I are like a very similar bet here, and that is the Jasuda Vicious plus 3.5 handicap. It's down to minus 110 on DraftKings. It was minus 125 yesterday. I mean, it can't possibly have anything to do with these two clowns in the community tagging Miranda Maverick and making a video saying she was going to lose. I mean, look, this is a narrative-based bet. I think Jasuda Vicious, she's going to have the length. I don't think she's better anywhere here. But I do think her takedown defense is kind of underrated. I think she can keep this fight standing. Maverick doesn't fight a style that's like super appealing to judging. Macy Barber will tell you that. Do I think she can steal around here? Yes. Am I ever betting Maverick minus 295? No. No, thank you. Not laying this kind of juice, especially in women's MMA. If you're going to bet the fight, I kind of like Jasuda Vicious to steal one around at plus 3.5. I don't really have anything else to say about this thing. If this thing hits the ground, I think if Maverick gets on top, she probably can end the round there. If Jasuda Vicious gets on top, I think Maverick's probably stronger. And this whole, I would bring up this age narrative. Like, I know this is like a big topic in the community, like this age narrative. I'm an old boxing fan. I like Bernard Hopkins. He won his last title at like 73 years old. I think this age narrative doesn't matter as much if you haven't taken damage, if you started late. Like Jasuda Vicious is, what's she, 34, 33?
34
but she doesn't have 11 years of MMA wear and tear. So to me, I'm not worried about that. And like, dude, 33 being old, hey, fuck you. 33 is fine. Like, you're in your athletic prime, especially at her stage in her career. So this whole age thing, I don't think applies for fights like this. I do think she can steal around here. She could get home cooking on the judges. I think that's definitely something to consider. So that's the pick. That's the bet. And it's minus 110, which I think it's worth a shot. But I'm never laying minus 300 on Maverick at this point.
Yeah,
I'll pick her to win for the sake of having a pick for the show. But
yeah,
hot take, the minus 300 will win.
Yeah, I really like that point spread bet. That plus 3.5. I was looking on Bet Online. I think I was conversating with you about it like 2 days ago when it was like plus 135. And what pushed me back is like, what if Miranda Maverick like actually gets like full mount? And I mean, she could possibly get an armbar. She could possibly elbow her out, which kind of does scare me a little bit. That's kind of what pushed me back. I don't have a bet on this fight, but I am picking Maverick to win, but I think the line is wild. Like, Jasmine does have good wrestling, and it's like when she's getting the fight to the ground, she's holding her opponents on the ground, and she's winning minutes. And Miranda Maverick, I mean, the Macy Barber fight, like, didn't she she defended like what? She got taken down in 7 of 8 takedowns attempted, I think. I don't know which fight that was. I think it was the Barber fight, but it's just a terrible look. Like, if Jasmine Javicius can get her down off like one takedown with one lady getting shooting 9 takedowns and getting 7 of them, like, Jasmine could possibly just win a whole fight, win like minutes on the ground for a whole entire round. So, I mean, plus 265 on Javicius, I'm a little tempted. I mean, I really like the point spread. I feel like it's more safe, but I still feel like the money line, I might get there. I don't know. I might just go really small on it, but I would not lay minus 320 on Miranda Maverick. Glenbot's saying Maverick by sub. She definitely has the better BJJ, and she's definitely more likely to get a sub. And as I said, I mean, if she gets full mount, she could possibly pull for an armbar, go for a Kimura. She had Shanna Young's back, and I think I had her inside the distance against Shanna Young. I don't remember. I can't really recall, but yeah, she couldn't finish Shanna Young, which did concern me a little bit. And Shanna Young's cardio is just dog shit. And I think Javicius has better cardio and a better ground game than Shanna Young, but I don't really hate the look. I think it's like plus 400. So yeah, I don't hate that. Dixon saying this fight goes to decision lock, and Moy saying Maverick by sub. Weezy, you got anything here?
I got a small bet on Maverick by knockout at plus 1,200. I want 1/10 of a unit. 1/10 of a unit. Jasmine Jasovicius has some of the worst striking that I've ever seen, plain and simple. But she's only spending 47% of her fights at distance striking range, and for Maverick, it's 48%. So the way I see it, I think these ladies are going to kind of get the fight that they want. Miranda Maverick has better striking than Jasmine Jasovicius. But it's like saying like that a comedian's funnier than like Trevor Noah, right? Everybody's funnier than Trevor Noah. So like, there's no point in saying that, like it's just redundant, right? So like this fight is probably going to be in the grappling areas a lot, right? And then who's going to win the fight, right? Well, it's going to be the lady that can choose where it goes, right? And that's not the jiu-jitsu player, that's the wrestler. That's how it works. Jiu-jitsu is so much different than wrestling. Wrestling, getting a takedown is so fucking hard. It's not just technique. You have to fucking want it. You got to move your feet. You got to be continuing to try to get that takedown when you're dog tired, when you're exhausted, when your opponent is struggling with every fiber of his being to stop you. In a jiu-jitsu match, the dude will lay on his back and scoot up to you, So that being able to get that takedown is such a big part of wrestler versus jiu-jitsu fights, right? And if you don't have like this crazy, dangerous guard a la Mackenzie Dern, a la Myra Bueno Silva, a la Virna Jandiroba, right? That's really not Maverick's game, because if it was, I don't think Erin Blanchfield would have been taking her down. Erin Blanchfield would have just walked her down and fucked her up, which is exactly what she was doing on the feet anyway. So I think that Jasmine's very live here, to be honest with you. If she doesn't get the takedowns, I think there's a potential she might get knocked out. 1/10 of a unit plus 1,200. We'll give it a shot, but I like the Jazz Davicius decision prop. I think that's around plus 340 isn't a bad look. Maybe throw a half unit on that. But I do think that Miranda does enough to win this fight because she is the much better striker, and she is going to be a little more dangerous on the ground with her submission attempts. But I like Jasmine's submission defense. So yeah. Trevor Hill. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
so
chic,
anyway,
it's chic week, Weezy. Like it's
it's
gonna
chic
be
week.
Iron
Yes,
Chic.
sir. Yes. Yeah, man. So anyway, that's the way I see this one. I see it as being a close fight. And one thing I wanted to bring up about the age thing, right? The age thing matters, yes, but look, when the younger fighter is already minus 280 and the younger fighter wins 70% of the time, well, guess what? You're already paying more than 70%. You're paying like 73%. So quit telling me that the younger fighter wins 70% of the time. Well, I'm fucking getting a 26% implied probability, so I'm 4% plus EV being the older fighter. And like Lou said, Jasmine's not old. It's not like she was, wrestling, for her entire life, and now is like, on 2 reconstructed knees, and she needs to get cortisone shots every other week just to be able to train. No, she's in really good shape. She's strong. She's big for the weight class, and she doesn't have all this tread on the tires. As a matter of fact, Miranda Maverick's got 5 more fights as a professional, 40 more minutes in the cage. So it's a very interesting matchup this week.
Yeah, and this is a little interesting. Dixon saying Miranda was pissed on Twitter, replying to YouTubers breaking down fights, called her bad. She said she's gonna show us she's got better wrestling. Do y'all believe her? I don't really know if this is the best matchup to do it in. So,
I believe those two are a bunch of
show
jokes.
that you're the better striker and show that you have some fight IQ, Miranda, because you don't need to out wrestle Jasmine Jasdavicius to beat her. You just have to keep the fight standing. She's a punching bag. So yeah, she shouldn't have to wrestle here. She shouldn't have to want to even prove that point. So I think that's even a bit of a red flag, something that should get you excited. Because now if she wants to prove that she's the better wrestler, if I'm Jasmine Jasdavicius, I'm saying, fuck yeah. Tell those guys to release another video saying that her wrestling's ass and tag her. And, because I want to wrestle with her. I'm 4 inches taller. I'm stronger. Well, at least that's debatable, obviously. But she's the bigger woman here. You're going to see the difference in size.
Yeah, I didn't know that at all. Boy saying Maverick would never lose to Elise Reed. I mean, I would hope
that fight was at 115 pounds, Moise. 115 pounds. You have any idea what it did to Jasmine Jasdavicius to fucking cut that weight? And she still probably won that fight. It was a very close fight, but she killed herself to make one. Said, I'm never doing that again, and she didn't.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a close fight. Definitely closer than what the line's indicating. But we can move on to the next one. We got everyone's favorite fighter, Chris Curtis versus Nasruddin Imavov. I could start us off here. I actually took Chris Curtis scorecards equals no action plus 106. I really like the spot. I don't think Imavov really has a lot of finishing upright, and I think he's kind of just going to stay on the outside. Respect Curtis's close boxing range where he's at his best, and Curtis has power. Went back and watched the Gastelum fight. Definitely was probably the best fight of Chris Curtis's career. Probably the most fun fight I watched on tape, and he was hitting Gastelum with some really hard shots. And what do we know about Gastelum? Like, his chin is kind of just granite, man. This guy could be hit all over again. He could just stand there and eat shots, and I don't think the guy's going to fall. And Imavov, like, he leaves openings to the body. He's 63 of 91. There's 91 body strike attempts, and his opponents have landed 63 of them. So this guy is open to being hit to the body. And I know Strickland fought him on short notice. He went 38 of 48 to the body. And I know Curtis, he works the body well. And the Buckley fight was concerning to me. He slowed down bad against Buckley, and if Buckley was anything of technical, like, he had moments where he had him up against the fence, and if he was technical and goes to the body and just keeps hammering away, like, he possibly finishes Imavov. So I like Curtis here. He's the more seasoned striker. I think he's gonna probably win the moments on the feet rather than Imavov winning the minutes on the feet. I think this fight could be close if it goes to decision, but if I just took Curtis scorecards equals no action because I mean he could definitely lose a decision here easy, but I don't think he gets finished here. Knowing that he also did get hurt in his last fight and he is kind of coming back a little short, but Chris Curtis always does this. So yeah, I kind of like Curtis here, and I think the line at plus 138 is pretty interesting on him as well. Lou, you want to break down your favorite fighter and Chris Curtis?
Well, I mean, I'll save all the vitriol for tomorrow after a couple of sodas. But I actually have a bet that I like. So, Weezy, did you hear my bet for the best bets on this one?
No, I didn't.
I said, what bet would make Chris Curtis the angriest? And that was Imavov by split decision. Just anger him. Like, this is going to be my first ever troll bet is Imavov split. But no, like, honestly, for the sake of this, and I'm looking to parlay this, I'm going to figure out what I want to build it with. Money's coming in on Imavov. Curtis is up to plus 135. I'm not trying to go crazy with these like plus 3.5s, but Chris Curtis plus 3.5 at minus 175 is intriguing to me. I have a concern that I'm going to bring up in a second, but I do feel like if history is accurate, I feel like Imavov wins round 1 at a very high clip, and I feel like Curtis wins round 3 at a very high clip. And all he needs to do is win 1 round for me to cash that bet. My concerns are as follows. Curtis said he was like legit unconscious after the headbutt for like 2 seconds. And Imavov just had ankle surgery like within the last 6 months. So there's a couple of things here that kind of make me leery with 2 guys who are historically durable. But that being said, I do think that Imavov can win the minutes. He has a very clear path. He stays on the outside. He jabs. He frustrates Curtis. I'm not worried about his fight against Strickland. It was short notice. It was up a weight class. It was 5 rounds. Like, there's a lot about how that fight changed in the span of a week. I can discount the result of that. The Buckley fight's the one that I'm more concerned with because he was running away from Buckley in the 3rd round. Was literally running from him. It was very bad optics. And I could see something similar to that too. The question is who wins the 2nd round of this fight? And that's where it becomes interesting. Now, I'm sure Curtis's camp has said we need more urgency off the bat, which is great for a plus 3.5 bet. I just don't see Imavov finishing Curtis, and I can see Curtis at least stealing the 2nd or 3rd round here. Not stealing, like winning the 2nd or 3rd round. So I think the minus 175 here, I'll tell you right now, I'd rather have Curtis to win 1 round at minus 175 than Imavov to win the fight at minus 155 any day of the week. So that's going to be my bet. I don't know what I'm going to parlay it. I don't know what I'm going to parlay it. And obviously, racist Bootsy hates this bet.
What? He's a black dog. How dare you?
He's racist
black
against
and brown.
No, he's racist against Canadians.
Canadians. Come on. But, oh God, this is just ridiculous.
Weezy, in all fairness.
Who slanders Bootsy?
There's no slander. I said he hates the French. I hate the French. Who doesn't hate the French? He's agreeing with my pick. I should have finished the sentence that he's racist against the French Canadians. So anyway, I'm no fan of the French, but I mean, you tell me, would you rather have Curtis to win 1 round or Imavov to win the fight at almost the same price? Like, I'll take Curtis. So all day. That's the pick. I'm sick to my stomach that I picked Curtis to win a round.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good look. I think it happens. Weezy, what do you like in this fight?
I've also got the Chris Curtis finish only prop here. I love his durability. And like you said, the body shots, I mean, I could see him getting a 3rd round knockout here. I could see him working the body early in the fight. And, the thing about Imavov is if you watch how this dude wins fights, it's not like how Hermanson beat Curtis, that's not his game. He doesn't run and that's how Julio Arce wins fights, when Arce can just actually backpedal for 15 minutes and outbox you and make you look stupid like he did to Daniel Santos. And it's like, holy shit, is Julio Arce a good fucking boxer or what? That's really not Imavov's game. I mean, Imavov's a sniper. He hits hard. He throws in combination. He doesn't pick people apart with his jab. That's never been his game. So I don't think that that's going to be the game plan that works for him here. I think Chris Curtis is going to be in that pocket as much as he needs to be. I think he's going to be the sharper boxer. I don't think that that's controversial at all. I think he's going to be the more durable guy. I think he's going to be the more likely guy to get a finish here. So at plus money, I like the money line. At plus money, I like the finish only prop. And for round 3 KO at plus 2,100, I might be taking a little stab at that one as well.
It's a wild number for his round 3 KO prop. It's a wild number here.
Got a lot of third round knockouts on his resume, ladies and gentlemen. And he's the guy that can hurt you to the body, which is where you get those third round knockouts a lot of the time.
Yeah, I mean, I remember I cashed him on round 2 against Buckley at 9-1. I mean, I thought that was ridiculously lined, and I mean that round 3 is crazy at 21-1. That doesn't really make sense. I might get on that as well. Good call, Weezy. We got Dixon saying he likes French toast. Hey, I'm a fan of French toast as well, man.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
me too.
Moy saying me
it's
too.
No Belgian waffle.
Agreed. It definitely isn't. Mushroom likes it as well. Mushroom, you like all foods, man. Mushroom, yeah, Mushroom, best entrees of anyone I've seen on Twitter. Post more, Mushroom. I miss them. If you saw my post last night,
he's
Mushroom,
He's big time now. He's big time in us. He's too good for too good for food shit.
He's gonna start posting salads and shit, like with a tiny little fork, you know,
with a live resin crouton.
Oh man. I think we're on the main card now. I'm actually really excited for this fight. We got Eric Anders versus Marc-Andre Barriault. And Weezy, you can start us off here if you want.
Yeah, so I don't have any action on this fight, but I love this fight just from a fan's perspective. What the numbers are showing me is that Eric Anders is probably going to be the one winning minutes with the grappling. You know, you look at that dude's back. It's like the width of a bus, dude. I mean, when he gets somebody up against the cage, you no longer see the fighter. Like, just, you know, his back just goes up and out, and it's like, wow, is there another fighter in the cage? I can't tell because Anders is just smothering him against the cage. But one of the things that I really worry about here is if he's not getting the actual takedown. If he just winds up in the clinch with this Barriault guy, he's going to get fucked up, dude. He's going to get chewed up in there. Barriault is Canadian, and he fights like a hockey player. And hockey players fight well in the clinch, my friend. And he's very, very dangerous there. So I like Barriault in the clinch. And at distance striking range, I like Barriault's forward pressure. I like his volume. But you've got to be real careful about Eric Anders' power. The guy's explosive. He's extremely strong. And he's got legit power numbers in the UFC. He's been doing this for a minute. 15 UFC fights. And you see that he's landing a knockdown on almost 2% of the distance strikes that he's landing. It's a very impressive number. He's got 7 knockdowns in those 15 fights. And you look at the level of competition that he's fighting really good guys. So, I think while this is at distance striking range, that Anders is going to be the moment winner. Barriault will be the minute winner. And if Anders can get takedowns, I think that's going to be a spot where he can really make Barriault wear his weight and win minutes. I mean, I think that's where he has to win the minutes, is on the ground. So truthfully, I kind of see this fight as like a 50-50. So right now with Barriault being minus 150 and Anders being around plus 125, I'd be more likely to bet that Anders side, if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree. Lou, you could start here. You can answer Dixon's question. He's saying, why does Monk like Anders so much?
Well, I haven't done a show at Monk this week, so I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I would say Jesus Christ, Weezy. Put on mute, you son of a bitch. I don't know. I haven't done a show at Monk yet, dude. But tomorrow at 5:30, I bet I could tell you why. Probably because he thinks Anders has more takedown upside here. I have no bet on this. I hate doing the same bet back to back, but I kind of don't hate the plus 3.5 for Anders here either. I do think he can have success. Like to Weezy's point about the clinch, whereas Barrialt is good at like the dirty boxing and short range strikes, I think Anders is the bigger guy, and I think he will be able to get takedowns. How many takedowns did he go for against the Iron Turtle? Like 23, 24 takedowns? I know he didn't land all of them.
Yeah, 22. 22 and got 3 of them.
But he's persistent. He has good cardio. He sticks to a game plan. And Barrialt's takedown defense isn't very good. I do think Anders can get him down. He's super strong. He can lay on him, and he can win minutes that way. I favor the Anders side. The only problem is I have been burned by Anders so many goddamn times because I want him to be good. And then he puts on these just turd performances. I don't think there's going to be – I saw like Glenn saying Mab round 3. I mean, like the guys that Mab finishes are either like – I mean, Marquez is just a gasser. And Marquez was winning that whole fight until he was done. I don't think Anders has a cardio issue here. I think he's the more athletic guy. And last point on this one is guy that I know Weezy watches some from time to time is Brandon Olivas. He has some interesting insights. And he had a really good point about Barrialt. I think this is on the Marquez fight. People say that Barrialt's cardio is really good, but it's not. It's really that he's kind of just willing to push through it. And it looks like he has good cardio when he's facing dudes who are gassers, guys that he's worked the body and tired out. But I don't think Barrialt's cardio is that great. I do think Anders has really good cardio. He's a super athlete. He's just not the best mixed martial artist. He's a great athlete that has pretty good cardio. You saw it in the Iron Turtle fight, in a fight that a lot of people think he won. He's still actively getting against the cage, going for takedowns over and over and over again in the third round. That takes a lot of stamina and energy. So I don't think Barrialt has the advantage there. And to Weezy's point, if you think it's 50-50, you go with the plus money. So
and Brandon was saying some things like he was kind of cryptic about it, but he was saying I wouldn't be trusting Anders with your money this week.
Well, there's it.
And he's somebody that he would know something. If there was something going on with Anders, he would know it because Anders was just at that camp.
Well, but that could be part of it too.
What's that?
That could be part of it too, is that the divorce was not amicable from that camp. So we don't know. It's shitty.
And let me just say one other thing about the cardio thing. He's saying that like he was saying, bringing up JSP, saying like he doesn't have the best cardio, but he's just willing to take himself to a place where he knows that his opponent is going to not be comfortable there while he will be. That's called good cardio, because building cardio is about taking yourself to places where you're very fucking uncomfortable. and I mean, like, that's just how it is. I mean, like, when you have better cardio than somebody, it's one of the easiest things to find out in the fucking world. You just both run, and the first one that fucking stops doesn't have the best cardio, out of the two people. And having great cardio is about taking yourself to uncomfortable places regularly and doing it consistently, not just once a week, not just once a month, literally every single day, taking yourself to that place so that when you go to that place, you know what it's like to be in there. It's like the cop, the old cop, the old homicide detective who goes in and he sees, that somebody chopped up into a million pieces, and then the rookie comes in there and he's puking. That old cop has seen that shit. It's not like it's any less disgusting to him now, but he's just been there before.
Yeah, I actually kind of like Anders here, and I might be tailing the bet that Lou actually just gave, the Anders plus 3.5. Lou, what's the line on that?
Well, first of all, the whole time Weezy was talking, all I heard in my head was push it to the limit, the limit, walk along the razor's edge.
Yeah, man, it's a classic.
Weezy's whole thing deserved a montage theme. It's minus 190. It's a little juiced, but like, again, I mean, I don't see a lot of finish equity here because I don't think Anders tires enough for MAB to get that, like, the gas finish. Anders is tough, dude.
Yeah.
Roundtree hit him with like, I mean, like that was on. And by the way,
he's only been finished once.
Yeah. They could have stopped that fight very easily. The round. Let me make this clear. They could have stopped the Roundtree fight because that fight was done. But Anders kept getting up, man. That dude is tough. Like, and I just don't see Barriolt's not the kind of guy that really has that kind of offense. Mm-hmm. Like, he doesn't have one punch power. He has, you know, it's volume. He's a volume based guy that gets late finishes. But I don't know. Barriol also, you know, we didn't bring this up. He's had a problem stringing together a winning streak in the UFC. Like this whole win-loss thing. I know it's not like a real. Think about it what you will, but some guys just, you know, you struggle to string them together, and maybe Barriol's just one of those guys. So, but so's Anders. Like once Anders lost once, it became like a struggle for him to really. But he's coming off a nice win against Dawkins, so we'll see.
I know about Barriot is when his opponents have shot in over one or more takedowns in their fights, and like any fight he's been taken down in every single one of those fights. And I damn well know Eric Anders is going to shoot more than one takedown here. And yeah, I kind of like him here. Like I think Barriot's cardio, like as you said, Lou, and as you stated from Brandon Olivas, I completely agree with that. Like he got taken down by Jordan Wright in the first fucking 30 seconds of the fight and got a guillotine. His first ever submission win on his career. I don't see that happening to Anders. I also think the Dalcha fight was just weird. Like Dalcha tried to wrestle him in the first round, and Dalcha's cardio is just utter dog shit. And his corner, you just heard his corner the whole entire fight, just screaming at him, just stop wrestling, and he couldn't even breathe on the stool at the end of round one. And Chidi Njokuani got knocked down on one punch. Anthony Hernandez is Anthony Hernandez. He's just a different level. And Julian Marquez, as you said, Lou, like he was winning every single minute. I was on Barriot in that fight. I'm like, when the fuck is this guy going to start fighting? I'm like, when is this guy going to start fighting? When is he going to start doing something? And like, I mean, he finally did something when Marquez gasped, but I like Anders.
He lost the first round pretty badly.
Yeah. And I laid minus 145 on him in that fight too. I had like 1.5 units on him. I was a little mad after that first round, but I like Anders here. Like I think Barriot's gonna be at a pretty bad striking disadvantage from range. I mean, he's gonna land more volume, but he's gonna get hit hard. He's definitely gonna get hit, and Anders can take him down as well. Like a prop that I actually really like is Anders decision only. I think he's going to win all the minutes. It's plus 130 on DraftKings. I like his money line also, but if Barriot finishes him late, which is a possibility, it's a possibility in all his fights, but he's not finishing any good or high-level opponents late, as Lou said. But the decision only, I think, is a good look. I like Anders' money line as well. Got Glenbot saying maybe the draw, Anders round 1, round 2. Oh, Dixon says, is there a chance this fight goes to a draw?
I've corrupted these fools with these. Plus, they're like, oh, Lou loves betting 5,000. Yeah, not all the time. I don't see 10-8. I don't see any 10-8 rounds here. Weezy, do you?
Yeah, no.
I can see it. It's an orthodox versus southpaw. There could be a cage grab. There could be a 10-8. You know, there's reasons. And then not only that, these guys are both pretty fucking durable. So when you're looking for a draw, you want a fight that you think is going to go to decision more times than not. A fight where, you know, maybe there's a big skill difference, so you might have a 10-8 round there, and where there might be a conditioning difference. I think that those are good things to look for. And a southpaw versus orthodox, where you got dudes throwing kicks, might get kicked in the yam bags. There you go. That's a possibility.
Yay!
Definitely Barriot, especially like if Anders keeps taking him down too. Like he might grab the fence. He might just be like, "Fuck this," and like maybe the ref will let him get away with it because he's in Canada.
Yeah, maybe.
Or some bullshit.
Or maybe they'll take a point from Anders for trying too many takedowns against a Canadian. You know.
Tiny saying, "I'm mad, but by decision, but I'm so mad at judging right now." I mean, oh man. I mean, I actually got a good end last week. I had Albazi. And I finally had a split decision that went my way. I was 0-6, guys, on my last 6 split decisions. So it felt good to finally get one. But I feel bad.
You should do better than that.
France. What's up?
Here's my advice: don't go for your win more.
Yeah, man, he's right. You just got to win more. That's all
More,
about just
and
catching the tickets. There's nothing to do with anything else, right?
And do you want to know how you win more? You bet the split decision, and you bet both sides the split decision. Then you cannot lose. You get the double up. You win money.
That's the special Tim Turano special, right?
No, this is this. Well, let me dispel this myth. And I love Tim. I've been betting these kind of things as long, if not longer, than him. I'm just not the public face of it. But yes, Tim's awesome at these.
We got Paul Dow in the chat saying the 3 goats. Paul was actually my second guest on the show as well. Paul absolutely crushed it. He'll definitely be a guest on in the future as well. Mushroom saying leaving work now, listening in a Bose studio stereo in the caddy. Mushroom, wow, you sound like it's 1980, man.
He's dropping. No, he thinks he's.
Is that the right? Is that the right era? Am I wrong?
He's trying to get sponsors. Like a comment in a YouTube video.
You sponsor him?
Hey, Bose or Cadillac sponsor me.
Dixon saying if Zahavi gets a robbery decision, Mavdef gets the robbery decision too. Book it. Glenn Bet saying, haha. Paul saying Park won a lot of minutes of clinch control on Mob. Andre's a lot bigger than Park. Yeah, definitely. AWMD saying the 3 Musketeers. Let's go, boys. Appreciate that, man. Thank you for tuning in. Mushroom saying win more is good advice. Yeah. Mushroom, everything you say is good advice, man. Keep spitting your facts. NYS doesn't have split decision. Yeah, I know. I hate it, man. I actually had it on William Hill, and then William Hill took it down, and I was just furious. It definitely sucks. But can move on to the next fight. Pretty sure we're now up to Dan Ige versus Nate Landwehr. I'll start us off here. I bet the under 2.5. I betted it plus 115, so I did beat a little line movement. I only put half a unit on it. I think Dan Ige could finish Nate Landwehr early. I think Nate's gonna walk forward, and I think it's gonna leave openings. What Nate Landwehr leaves a lot of openings to is the check left hook, and like if you go back and watch the Lingo fight, it's like Lingo was feinting the left hook every single time, and he was landing it every single time. Like, he was hurting Nate Landwehr on a little bit of his shots. And Nate Landwehr did go to the wrestling. He cashed the round 2 sub for everyone, which I was a little jealous I wasn't on. But congrats to everyone who cashed that fat number. Ridiculous cash. And he was sensing it, too, in the Onama fight. Like, he was pulling guard going for front chokes, and I think Dan Ige, I don't know if he's a high-level brown belt or if he is a black belt, but I think he's a black belt. I mean, I was watching Lou's props to bet that maybe consider, and I really like the point that
does nobody get the name of the show right ever?
I'm sorry, it's a long title. You have such long titles.
I've never had a show with a long title ever.
You have Oh, I can't give it away.
I've never come up with a long. It's props to consider, and then maybe bet. Sponsored by Lamisil.
And
then you made it longer.
But I mean, get Lamisil on board as a sponsor, man. It's about damn time.
I'll teach Mushroom how to get
people forever, man. Wow,
oh, man.
I mean, I think the fight doesn't. I like the under 2.5. I did get it plus money, but I think Nate Landwehr is a little bit live for a finish. Like, I think a lot of people are kind of ruling it out, but like Dan Ige has fought high level competition, obviously, but it's like he hasn't fought fucking Nate Landwehr. And I feel like Nate Landwehr is different than a lot of these like high level fighters. Like, he's just gonna walk him down. He's gonna bring that dog style, and that's what Nate brings in every single fight. And yeah, they're both gonna fight for violence, so I liked it at plus money. The fight doesn't go as minus 150 now. I really don't like it. The under 2.5 is minus 120. It's not like I don't really hate it, but I mean, if anything, I would take the fight to end by KO. But yeah, I'm picking Ige to win. I think he can knock him out in the second round, maybe even the first round. But yeah, that's my pick here. Lou, you got a hot take here?
I was trying to find the Tony Bennett thing from SNL, and he's like, "My sponsor's Lamisil Cream. Gonna knock your socks off." Sorry, that's for the people even older than us. So I told you, I'm like, man, I hate this under. Like, because you're like, well, Landwehr is not gonna wrestle because he's there to put on a show. Oh no, sir, he's already put on a show. He's good. He's happy to go for takedowns, and you see that he goes for takedowns when he's getting hit because his striking defense is terrible. Guys that don't hit as hard as Ige, like Lingo was tagging Landwehr. It's like, and I was one of those ones that cashed in the round 2 sub. Thank you very much. I just think that Landwehr can go for takedowns. Now, here's what I just cannot figure out in my head with this fight. That's why I'm glad I'm talking about this with you two guys. This could look so many different ways. I don't think it's going to look like Ige Jackson because the way Landwehr goes for takedown, like Jackson's takedowns are shit. Like, it's kind of weird how Jackson ends up on the ground. But Landwehr at least is using the striking to set up takedowns. He's getting inside. He's immediately on a double leg and like can get somebody down. But we saw the Korean Zombie, who I think whose grappling is completely underrated, just absolutely control Ige and make that fight not competitive. I don't think Landwehr can do this. But I also think that Ige is getting way overrated here for his finish equity. Like, I know Landwehr's striking defense is bad. Ige is not some colossal finisher in his career. Now, this is Landwehr a step down from the guys Ige usually faces? Yes. I like Landwehr, but yeah, this is a step down. But Landwehr he's shown he can get rocked and fight through it and stay in a fight. So this fight's so hard to cap because Landwehr could get rocked and then maybe get 2.5, 3 minutes of control on the ground. And he's not just laying and praying. Like against Onama, he was pouring it on when he got on top. So like Korean Zombie was content to just kind of lay there and position over submission and just not even throwing a lot of strikes. But Landwehr is going to be way more active on the ground. This is such a hard fight to cap. Landwehr decision made me. I've been really good with Landwehr wins. I got Landwehr decision against Onama. I got Landwehr sub. I'm kind of feeling Landwehr decision here too, man. I think Landwehr can get this done. In all fairness, with his money line, it's plus 220. I don't want to get like super greedy and do a decision prop at a plus 220 because with the Onama fight, I had a money line and then I had like the small poke of the decision. But I kind of see a path for it here, man. And you know, it's not an unreasonable number to bet the over here either. But Weezy is the man with these and 2.5 over 2.5 plus 100 right now. So you got a good number at least, Brandon. Like you got a great number on the under. Yeah, it's getting steam, but this is where Weezy and Propaholic matter, or probability matter, because this is where we see like the benchmark against these guys. So very curious what he has to say about this, even though I already know.
Yeah, Weezy jumped straight into it, man.
Yeah, so if you're talking about the under 2.5 rounds, overpriced by about 12.5% according to the benchmark. Benchmark 38.8%. The line at minus 105, 51.22%. And about 47% of their combined fights have went under 2.5. But here's the thing. For Ige, it's 4 out of 11. And Ige can get finishes, but he can't really be finished. I mean, like if you look at the guys that he's already been in there with, I mean, Landwehr's not finishing this guy. You know, if the guys that already have been in there with Ige aren't finishing him, I'm sorry. It's not going to be Landwehr that's the first one to crack that. So I kind of believe that I would rather just go with Ige inside the distance and get a better line than minus 135, which is where the fight doesn't go right now, because I just don't see a path for Nate Landwehr. I mean, he's a volume striker, but the guys that, you know, he's never dropped anybody in the UFC. He has no knockdowns. So, you know, a guy like Ige who's never been knocked down and he's been in there with guys that like some of these guys hit like they got a fucking roll of quarters in their hand, you know? So I don't see Landwehr being the one to crack that nut. I like Ige. I like him to win this one inside the distance. The time props, like the overs a little bit more. I mean, I think that the data, what I'm saying is the data likes it a little bit more. I mean, obviously the stylistic components of the matchup are completely different than the data because you have to look and see, you know, does the data matter? If you go back and you look at the type of opponents each person is fighting, if it's a completely different type of fight, you might get something that's different than what the data is suggesting it'll be. So I like Ige. I picked him to win by first round knockout. Another thing that Brandon Olivas said and Santino said is when they were coaching the Korean Zombie, and I don't know if they still are, but after the Ige fight, Zombie told those guys, I've never been hit as hard in my life by anybody but Dan Ige. And let me just to give you a little bit of context on that. Oh, wait, I don't have zombies. Here, wait, let's do this. UFC stats, this week's card. Dan Ige fought the Chan Sung Jung. Chan Sung Jung has been in there with Dustin Poirier, Jose Aldo, Yair Rodriguez, Moicano, Frankie Edgar, Brian Ortega, Alexander Volkanovski, and Dan Ige. And he said that Dan Ige was the hardest hitter out of any of those guys. That's fucking crazy. So I'm thinking that Ige probably does get this done. And if he gets it done, it'll be in the first round, like the other 2 times that we've seen Nate Landwehr finished in the UFC. So that's what I'm going with.
Wow.
It is crazy knowing he's been knocked down, I think 3 times now in the UFC too, and his chin is there to be cracked. As you said, like, I'm pretty sure you're on the over from a analytical standpoint. I'm on the under from a stylistic standpoint. So let's see how matchups meet. I'm a little bit curious. So best of luck to the both of us. And Paul's saying that's what I'm talking about, Lewis, with his Landwehr decision prop. We got UFC Egg in the chat. Everyone go check out UFC Egg. He's one of the bigger supporters on Twitter. UFC Egg is always around. Then always like seeing UFC Egg around here. Got Mushroom MMA saying propaholic, probability. Both are fucking awesome. Agree with that. Thank you, Mushroom. We got Blood Money MMA, Cody in the chat saying 3 of my favorite dudes. Great show and information, gentlemen. Appreciate you, Cody. Thank you for stopping by, man. We got Glenbot saying, what's up, Cody? Mushroom saying, what's up, Cody? And I guess Tiny just got sold as well. We can move on to the next one. We got Mike Malott versus Adam Fugit. Lou, you want to start us off?
Yeah, well, I cashed a nice Fugit ticket against Kinoshita.
Ooh.
And why stop the fun now, man? Fugit round 2, round 3 submission at plus 2,300 is a prop that I'm betting. It's on FanDuel. I just don't really like Malott here. I know, and the thing is he's not going to be the bigger guy. He's not going to have the anthropomorphic advantages. Fugit will have the reach. I think Malott's been hit hard in every fight. You know, I know we're saying the whole, like, that's the whole, like, myth now is, like, we don't know what his cardio looks like in the second round. But I know what Fugit's is going to look like in the second round. He looked great against Michael Morales on, like, 4 days' notice. And they fed Fugit to Morales. They're like, yep, here's our new prospect. By the way, getting knocked out in the third round to Morales, no shame in that. I don't know how the grappling exchanges are going to look here. Malott is strong. Everybody's saying his jiu-jitsu is like next level, that fights with him in the gym, but we really haven't seen it. And honestly, kicking Johan Lioness's ass isn't saying much to me. I don't think Lioness is very good. I don't think he's UFC level. Mickey Gall was tagging him. Like, there's so many defensive liabilities that Malott has. And I think Fugit's good enough to exploit him. I like his cardio better. I think he's going to be smart enough to drag this out and avoid getting caught in the first round. And I think Fugit gets him out of there in the second or the third. So if you want to parlay the unders here, they're juiced to the tits. But, like, I really don't see how this fight goes the distance, although, who knows. But I like Fugit the longer this fight goes on. And a live bet on Fugit is absolutely the worst you're going to get, even if he wins the first round. I don't know what you guys think, but you're probably not going to get worse than like minus 110, even if he wins the round. But I love Fugit here. Fugit season.
Yeah, I don't hate it.
And also Fugit's the most natural 170. I'm sorry. And he's the natural 170er here. Malott is not. Like, Malott has fought at 145 and 155. Like, Fugit's the bigger guy in a lot of ways. And it's got to mean something here against the guy who gets hit a lot every fight. So, yeah, now I'm done.
I mean, I don't hate it at all. I know people who are on Fugit, and I don't blame them. I just can't really get to a money line here, so I just parlayed the fight doesn't go to decision at minus 360 with something we'll get onto later. But as you said, like, Lioness, I mean, the dumbass I was to actually bet Lioness. I mean, that was just a fucking pitiful performance. Like, he just didn't fucking do anything. It didn't even look like he wanted to be there at all. And Malott took him down and basically just choked him out. And, he really I don't think he's been out of round 1 once, and I'm pretty sure the fight he's been out of round 1, he went to a draw. I think it was in Bellator. I think I could be wrong. Back in 2016 it was. But, yeah, Fugitt's got good cardio, and he looked really good against Morales. Like, even taking him down at the end of round 1, like, he stole the first round, and he was winning the first round on the feet as well. And Kinoshita, like, he just broke him down. Like, he took him down easy and was landing vicious elbows. I had the under 2.5 there, and I didn't expect Fugitt to go out there and cash it in the first round as well. So I think Fugitt is a pretty slept-on fighter. The UFC's just been feeding him prospects. They're doing the same thing again, but Mike Malott at -200, it's like, just play him to win in rounds 1 and 2. Like, I don't really know what you can get there. Maybe you can get plus money on him, but you don't really want to have a -200 ticket on him if this gets out of round 1, because we don't know how he's going to look, and we don't know how this guy is off his back. Like, and just saying, like, guys, he's been in Canada training for this whole entire camp. Like, he's not a team alpha male, so I don't know who he's training with who's a better wrestler or grappler than him at that camp. So I think that's just something to look at as well. I think Fugitt's actually live, and I'm actually picking him to win this fight. I don't know what method he's going to win by, but I think he can get the job done here, man. I think he's really live at his odds.
He's going to win by death.
Weezy? By death.
Yeah, I love this fight. I mean, I think violence props fight doesn't start round 3, under 1.5. Fight doesn't go. Fight doesn't go is a nice parlay piece. Yeah, you got to be looking for violence here. I find that plus 172 right now on FanDuel for Fugitt very interesting. I find Adam Fugitt to win in round 3 at plus 1,500 very interesting, because we've never seen Malott, outside of round 1 except for once in the last 11 years, and that was a fight that went to draw, against a guy who's 5-4 at the time, and but it was so long ago, and it was at featherweight, so it really doesn't mean much. But eventually one of Mike Mallett's fights is going to go to decision. I mean, I don't think anybody retires, with 100% fight doesn't go to decision rate. But I don't see this one being it, because Fugitt puts on such a pace that if Malott really does just have 1.5 rounds, he's going to get broken late, and Fugitt can get hit, Malott can get hit. Both of these guys are aggressive, so I think it's a great violent spot here. I don't have anything yet. I'm going to be looking to work this into my greasy 4-legger, and I'm going to continue to look at those under 1.5s. The fight doesn't start round 3. The fight doesn't, the under 2.5, and maybe find a way to work that into my track bets this year via a parlay or a big straight bet. But I haven't really decided how I want to hit that yet.
I know fight doesn't start round 3 is -200.
Yeah.
I don't hate that number at all. I think that's a great number.
It's a great number, seeing as like you got a guy with Malott 11 fights, and he's been out of round 1 once.
Yeah.
So right there, you got a guy with a 90% rate, So
that was 7 years ago.
Yeah, no, so long ago.
And he's been knocked out at 155 too. So I mean, it's definitely something to look at. So, got Mushroom saying Lioness sounds like lioness. That's a female lion, and females are hood.
That's why he's the best in the business.
We got Paul saying Malott's grappling looked pretty slick versus Trevin Giles on Fury grappling a couple months ago. Yeah, I actually watched that too. It did look pretty slick, but I mean, it could play a dividend here if he gets the clinch. But Fugitt's pretty strong, and he's tall, man. And the one thing I hate about Fugitt is just the way he stands like this. Like, doesn't he stand like this when he strikes, like his neck just like out like an ostrich?
The one thing I hate is that he has a title belt in this Tapology picture. That's typically like, I don't want to bet that person. It's like a big, in the capping process, it's like...
He's the champ, though. Come on.
He's the champ of what? Like his neighborhood?
He's the champ. He's the champ in the picture.
He's the champ of Tapology. I mean, so is Mira, Mr. Finland, the Mira Markwani. But like,
such a sad release, man.
But I think just Fugitt like fights this kind of like a herky jerky style where like, this is so funny because I said this to Liam off air, and he was like, "That's such a weird comparison. I love it." He kind of fights like Keith Jardine, this awkward, like like his neck's in weird positions. Like the way he fights is you'd never want to teach anybody to fight this way, but he's found a way to make it work, and he doesn't keep his head centered. Like he's moving it in still in vulnerable positions, but like he's found a way that just works for him. It's like when you see a batter in baseball where like, man, this batting stance is awful. But when you get good at it, at like a stance like that, and can be productive, the fundamentals go out the window. I feel like Fugit has found a way to kind of like herky jerky like snake his way into range. Like it doesn't look great on tape, but it's worked for him.
Yeah.
Watch the second round against Morales. Morales couldn't hit him. Like Morales was throwing strikes and like he was missing pretty badly in that fight. And so sometimes you just gotta like, the tape might look weird, but you're like we're talking about Blake Builder before. His tape is terrible, but the guy's never lost, so it's working for him.
It's crazy because Mickey Gall I'm pretty sure he cut Mike Malott on like, what was it, like the 5th jab he threw, and like his nose was bleeding in like the first 40 seconds of that fight too, and like he was like actually pressuring him in winning moments.
No,
but
Malott keeps his head on the center line way too much.
Yeah,
and that's his problem. Like all he does is keep his head on the center line. Like so. Fugit doesn't. I just don't know if like Fugit has a great chin, but he's hard. He's weirdly deceptive to hit. I feel like he gets hit, but he never gets hit like cracked cleanly.
We got Alex Ramirez taking notes. Alex Ramirez saying press the like button. Completely agree. We got Moy saying General Alex. AW saying Malott by sub. Alex Ramirez, Moise, and we got Mushroom saying champ of the people who bought a belt online. I guess Adam Fugit might have bought that belt for his Tapology picture. He might have thought it was cool. Lou doesn't think it's cool though. But
Weezy, how do you cap somebody having a title belt in their Tapology picture? You're on mute, sir.
It's something you see all the time. I mean, of course, you're going to take a picture with your regional scene belt. You know, I mean, a lot of these guys, they get them before they come to the UFC. So we see those pictures. Like, I think there's a great one of Shamil Abdul-Rahimov with that beautiful fucking blazer, and he's got the belt over his shoulder. It looks great, man. I love it.
Elise Reed had 2 belts in her picture. Just
that is intimidating.
Yeah, CFFC belts, man. That's the real deal.
I don't like
good fucking regional scene promotion.
I don't like having a belt. It's an instant turnoff for me to see the belt.
We got I can't wait for this fight. I mean, pretty much I think is the main event of this card. Definitely the people's main event. We got Charles Oliveira versus Beneil Dariush, and I'll start us off here. I'm on the Dariush side, and I'm on the under 2.5. I got on the under 2.5 at -165. I got on Dariush money line at -120, and I like both of the spots. I think Dariush is gonna have a pretty upside in the wrestling. This guy is a world-class grappler. He gets the fights to the ground pretty dominantly. He wins lots of minutes there, and the guy is a high-level BJJ black belt out of King's MMA, and yeah, I really like what he brings to the table. The one thing I don't like about him is he's chinny, and what have we been seeing with Charles Oliveira recently? I mean, the power that this guy has been showing is just kind of off the charts, and yeah, when he's getting knocked down in his fights, he's getting a knockdown right after he's getting knocked down in those fights, and those have basically been like his last 5 fights, and I think this is gonna be a fucking war. I mean, the fight doesn't go as -260. I don't even hate the under 2.5 and -210 still. I feel like it's still pretty much parlayable, but I think I think Dariush is the most live to win a decision here. But I mean, Oliveira, man, this guy's gonna fight for your money. I'm pretty sure I think he's like +120 now, but I don't know. I think Dariush can crack him as well. Dariush is pretty much a good striker as well. I mean, what he did to Scott Holtzman, I know it's Scott Holtzman, but I mean, he beat the shit out of Scott Holtzman. I mean, it was just an absolute beatdown. Diego Ferreira, he was winning the moments on the ground against Diego. I don't know how the fuck that fight was a split decision. And he did to Ferguson. He controlled him. And Gamrot couldn't even take him down. And Dariush looked great on the feet. And Dariush has been saying he's going to bring a war this time, which does scare me a little bit, especially against a guy like Charles Oliveira. But I have violence as well. But I'm on Dariush. I like him here. And I feel like this is MMA Twitter war of the week. And maybe you guys are on the same side as me. Maybe you're on a different side, but I can't wait to hear it. Weezy, what side are you on here?
I'm on the Oliveira side. I think he's the much more dangerous fighter wherever the fight goes. I think Beneil Dariush is an amazing minute winner in the grappling exchanges, and the numbers absolutely bear that out. I mean, you're talking about a guy with 21 UFC fights since 2013, 200 minutes in the UFC cage. Control time 40% for Dariush. Control time allowed, less than 9%. He's winning almost 82% of the control time positions that he's in, while somebody like Oliveira wins only about 48%. But you see, Oliveira doesn't care if you take him down because he's so good on the ground that he's going to find a way either to sweep or threaten with submissions from his back, and he's equally dangerous trying to do either. As a matter of fact, he could take your back standing, and that's something that we've seen him do a number of times. The fight that really stuck out to me was the Chiesa fight for Beneil Dariush. You saw Chiesa get a takedown exactly the way that we see Charles Oliveira get takedowns. And then when Oliveira takes you down, you see what he tries to do is he gives you an out. Any good Brazilian jiu-jitsu player, judo player, jiu-jitsu player is going to leave you an out. They're going to let you do something, and they're praying that you do it. Because the second you do it, they're going to step two. Because a good grappler is always 2 or 3 steps ahead. And so they're leaving you that out so that you will give up your back and try and stand up. And as soon as you do, the hooks go in, and they go in fast, and then you're not getting that guy off your back. That guy is Oliveira. It's not Dariush that's going to be getting the back, that's going to be winning the fight from that position. In addition to that, I like Charles Oliveira's striking so much more. These guys are both Muay Thai stylists. They're both essentially shoot box guys because Beneil Dariush is being coached by the original shoot box coach in Rafael Cordero, and now you've got Charles Oliveira at shoot box Diego Lima, and it's the pressure on the feet that he brings. The pressure is nasty that he brings. So I can see Beneil Dariush getting a win in this spot, obviously, because he can win minutes on the ground. And we've seen Oliveira give up minutes on the ground. 32.3% of Charles Oliveira's cage time, which is 178 minutes since 2013, is spent being controlled by his opponents. So there's definitely a path, in my opinion, for Dariush. But what I did was because Dariush has been finished in 100% of his career losses, and Charles Oliveira has an 89% finish rate in 17 wins since 2013. I took Oliveira by his best win condition, which is inside the distance, plus 200, put a full unit on it. I got Charles Oliveira down as Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week.
Well, shit, me, man. I guess I'm against your ass shaving of the week.
Well, if you were against it last week, you did just fine. So it's not always a guarantee.
Lou, any other take here? Or?
Well, I got to break the tie. I struggle with this one so much, man. And I obviously I missed the Dariush, the plus 130, whatever it opened at. I missed the opener there, as I tend to do. I'm the opposite of Gambus when it comes to CLV here. I'm like the anti-Gambus, I suppose. But ultimately, I decided, and this is don't tail for this reason. Let me just say this right now. I ultimately decided to go with Dariush, and I have 2 reasons why I did. One of them is I just kind of think the guy's been screwed around for years. I'd love to see him get this win. It's strange to me that Makhachev closed at what? Minus 180, minus 190 against Oliveira. And now Dariush is not that far from what Makhachev closed against Oliveira. I just find that to be a really wild, weird odds thing here. I realize it changes fight to fight, but Makhachev minus 190 against anybody is here's my money. And now it's against Oliveira, and now we're getting within a 50-point different line. Not an extreme difference for Dariush as a favorite, and it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me, just to put that out there. So here's the big thing that leads me toward Dariush. Do I think Oliveira's the more well-rounded guy. Yeah, I don't argue with that. Oliveira gets knocked down in the first round of every fight. He gets cracked. Chandler cracked him. Poirier, he gets cracked. Gaethje cracked him. He gets knocked down. And what's the thing that all these guys have in common? If you're Chandler, you dive in like an idiot, where you're completely outclassed, or you don't know what to do when you knock him down, and you just pause and you hesitate and you let Oliveira recover. He does have very good recoverability from getting knocked down. The difference between all those guys and Dariush is Dariush isn't going to be afraid to knock him down and jump into his guard. And Dariush has the skill set, at least in the first round, to not get caught in anything, to win the first round, to grind Oliveira out on the ground, throw some punches, tire him out. Oliveira's card is pretty good. So I'm not like, and it's a 3-round fight. But I think Dariush can win the first round at a very high clip with Oliveira's predilection for just getting bonked. It's almost like he needs to get bonked to get in the fight. So if you're going to give me Dariush to win the first round, okay, well, then how does the rest of the fight play out? And this is where it's complicated to cap, because I think Oliveira is extremely dangerous wherever this fight goes. And he doesn't need to get a takedown and get a submission, which I think is something that nobody's really talked about. They could be against the cage and Oliveira could just get his back. He did it to Poirier, and I know Poirier isn't like the best defensive grappler, but he was like the Flash, man. That sequence took like a half a second. He was in front of Poirier and then he was behind him immediately. That's crazy.
A lot of it, what was so nice about Oliveira striking that fight was the knees to the body. I mean, prior to taking the back, I could say he landed about close to 30-something knees in the clinch to the body, which I think led to it. And I think that's the way he kind of gets people's backs as well. He works the body, and it's when when people think that he's going to knee to the body or knee to the head, he takes the back. And as you said, Lou, he did it slick there, man.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it is incredible. I mean, he's the most submissions in the UFC of all time for a reason. I mean, this guy, it's next level on the ground. And I mean, I don't hate it. I'm on Dariush, but I don't blame anyone who's on Oliveira. And yeah, I know Weezy's, it's his ass shaving of the week.
I would add this from a betting perspective. If you like Oliveira, you bet him now. I know the line's been a little fluctuated, but I'm guessing based on just being old that Oliveira is a public name. And as soon as the pay-per-view portion of this card starts, I think a lot of public money is going to come in on Oliveira. He's the name. He's the recognized star. It's a pay-per-view. I just think that's how this is going to play out.
Drake's going to bet him. Drake will be there. It's Canada. Drake will bet him.
When I was talking to Liam about this, and he's like, I think Dariush could close as high as -175. And I'm like, this Canadian smoke is getting in your head. I know it's gotten to mine these last couple of days.
Oh, man.
I think the money's going to pour in on Oliveira that last hour or two. That's just my perspective. So if you like Dariush, you could probably get him at -120 by the time the fight goes off. But I think Oliveira, this is probably the best price. I don't know what you guys think. I don't think this price, you're not going to get a much better price. Maybe 5-10 cents best. I don't think you get a much better price on Oliveira. And as far as what Weezy said with the in-a-distance props, that one probably won't move. You probably locked into +200 at this point. I don't think you'll get much better than that at this point. But I favor Dariush. But like I said, I think part of it is I just want to see him get his shot, man. You know the story about my buddy's kid choking me all the time, right?
No.
Oh, the bar I go to, my buddy Tommy and his son Tommy Jr. And also, don't name your kid what your name is, guys. Don't do that. Just don't. It's bad. But anyway, they're big Dariush fans because my buddy Tommy likes him and his son's just getting into it. And so now, of course, he's learning how to get rear naked chokes. And anytime I see him at this bar restaurant across the street, I'm locked in a choke by an 8-year-old who has an insanely deceptively strong grip. And he's telling me to root for Dariush. So if I go on air and I pick Oliveira, they may not talk to me again. So that's another part of my pick. But I favor Dariush to win the first round. at a decent clip because I do think he'll get the knockdown. He won't be afraid to go into the guard. And I think Oliveira in the first round of this fight, probably content to be on his back and be like, okay, like, let's play jiu-jitsu. I'm all right with it. So
Yeah, he never minds it. We got
and if I'm
UFC.
wrong here, that's cool too. This is a great fight. Like, this is one of
Yeah.
those fights where if you lose the bet, okay, like if you lose the bet, you lose the bet. But I'm really excited for I mean, I wish this was the main event. I don't care about the 5-round nature because I don't think the 5-round nature would really.
I don't think it would go.
I don't think it would play here. But
yeah. We got UFC Egg saying Dariush said war when he fought Tony too, and basically took him down and kept it on the ground. I mean, yeah, fighters tend to lie in their interviews. I don't really try to take interviews into too much when I'm capping fights. But yeah, I mean, he probably will say the same thing here, and he'll try to take Oliveira down. But I mean, just having a Dariush ticket, which I have, and if he even is in Oliveira's guard, I mean, I'm definitely going to be shitting my pants. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind. UFC Egg saying I had the -110 opener on DK, and they voided my bet when they rebooked it. By the time they voided my bet, the line moved to -130 Pain. That's not terrible. -110 is still a good number.
20 cents
but
is fine.
yeah, but -130 is still good. I mean, it's higher than -130 now, so you did do your job. We got Mushroom saying betting overs on the last few fights will have you changing your underwear between fights. Yeah, definitely. UFC Egg saying I have fight starts round 3 in the main event. Do I need new underwear? I think it goes to decision, guys. Yeah, we'll get right into that shortly. We got Nick saying Oliveira is always dangerous, but Dariush has been scratching and clawing. Fighting is his way. A title shot. He's hungry. Charles Oliveira is always hungry, man. It's every single fight he's ever fought in the UFC. This guy's been hungry ever since he started that win streak. He's been getting hungry and hungrier with each win. He's saying UFC Egg saying Oliveira is 0-4 in Canada. Thoughts? I mean,
It's a weird statistical anomaly.
It's such a weird. It's like an ESPN stat that you don't want to hear, and then it comes out, and it's like, okay. I mean,
maybe
whatever.
he hates poutine. Maybe he hates Gordo. I don't know, man.
Who hates Gordo?
Maybe Oliveira hates Gordo, dude. I don't know. I'm just trying to explain the stat. That's it.
We got Mushroom saying Charles Oliveira ITD. We could move on to the main event. We got Irene Aldana versus Amanda Nunes. Weezy, you start us off here.
Yeah, so this one for me is just about as simple as it gets. If Amanda Nunes weighs in and looks good, like she's ready to go, I'm using her as a parlay piece, and I don't think that Irene Aldana even has a chance. I think the arguments that I've heard for Aldana winning this fight this week are entirely narrative based. I've never heard anybody say, here's how I think she wins it in the cage, right? What I hear them saying is, well, Nunes doesn't care anymore. Well, okay, so that's the line, huh? The percentage that Nunes doesn't care anymore is 25% if you're getting plus 300 on Aldana. That's what I'm looking at here. So I want to see both of them on the scales. Irene Aldana hasn't made 135 in a minute. Her last 2 fights were at 140. So yeah, I think it's Amanda Nunes all day. I think she could take her down whenever she wants. I think when it's on the feet, Aldana will be the better technical striker, but there's really kind of no question who's more powerful. It's the one that's knocking out Chris Cyborg. So yeah, that's what I'm going with here. It's going to be Amanda Nunes as long as she looks good on the scale.
Yeah, I'm on Aldana, but I didn't bet her on a narrative base. I mean, I bet her on my study. I think she's the most technical boxer that Nunes is ever going to face. And I think Nunes has just been getting so comfortable on the feet with Pena recently that she's kind of just been being a little bit reckless. And she's getting her takedowns against her opponents when her opponents are basically worrying about her power. And yeah, I just think Nunes, I'm not on a narrative base, but I like Aldana striking, and she does have nasty Kimura sweeps. I mean, she is pretty lethal on the ground. I mean, just watch the Macy Chiasson fight. She had her in a bad spot. She did get her back taken, which I didn't like in the 3rd round. Led to the up liver kick to the body. But I mean, I really do think that Aldana is live here than like what more people are thinking. I mean, I think she can crack Nunes. Nunes is definitely there to be hit, and I think the check hook is there. But I took the shot. I put 0.32 units on plus 285, and I don't know if Lou's gonna like it. I put 0.8 units on the sub at plus 1400. I know people are on the Nunes submission.
0.08, right?
Yeah,
Not point 0.8
0.08
Yeah,
units.
okay.
Yeah, not yeah. On my bad. Yeah, just a small little sprinkle because I know Aldana. She doesn't have a bad submission game, and Nunes has been put in bad spots and she goes to her wrestling when she's completely tired from throwing all her fucking gas on the feet. And the Ramnadine fight, like she's a basic Muay Thai fighter, and she had her in like 3 fucking arm bars, which just completely concerned me. And she was, I know Juliana Pena's guard's nasty, but she got put in bad spots there, and it's like Aldana's not gonna quit. Like she has that dog in her, and I think Nunes is gonna throw her gas. And if Aldana could survive it early, I think she could break down Nunes. So I also parlayed the fight doesn't go to decision at minus 250 with the Malat fight doesn't go to decision. I got minus 125 for the parlay. I really like that. But yeah, I took the little dog shot on Aldana, and I think she could stun the world, but I'm not really obviously fully confident in it. I got her at plus 285, just 0.32 units on her to win a unit. Lou?
Yeah, I agree with everything that Weezy said and nothing that you said. No, no, I'm being funny. But yeah, Nunes. This is, and like one of the things I like always say on my show is I hate betting negatives. Weezy said it best. Anybody betting Aldana, except for you, apparently, but everybody betting Aldana is betting her because Nunes is this. Nunes is going to the WWE. Nunes is retiring. Nunes only came back, so Pena couldn't be the champion. Not Aldana is good. It's all that Nunes. I do think you said Aldana won't quit. Oh, I believe she will. I believe Nunes will make her quit. The sub prop's crazy. It's plus 500. Round 1-2 sub is plus 750. Please and thank you. All of that. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But skill for skill, there's nowhere Aldana is better. You mentioned she's the best technical boxer. Holly Holm's better. Holly Holm's a way better boxer and striker than Aldana is. And Holly Holm went D1 home on Aldana. Fuck you think Nunes is going to do to her? If Nunes is 50% motivated, look, the Pena loss happens. You're the champion for a long time. It happens. So how'd she respond? I care about how a champion responds. Well, how'd she respond? Putting up 7 million DraftKings points in beating Juliana Pena within an inch of her life. Yeah. That's the Nunes. It's so weird. Like, people forget how good she's been. The only fight that Nunes is going to lose is the way I have it set up after this. So just hear me out. Amanda Nunes wins. She's getting on the mic. She's about to thank the crowd. She's going to retire. And then in walks the real champ, who's the real Nunes, Josiane Nunes. She's coming for the belt. She's going to beat her at 145. Then she's going to lose weight and be like, now I'm kicking your ass at 135. Josiane Nunes, champ.
She just beat Zara Ferran dos Santos. You beat that woman. You're getting
the belt next. And
don't forget the Swedish Muay Thai champion, Bea Malecki. Yes,
and that other bird from that got cut that looks kind of Hawaiian. I can't remember her name. That Eric Betts fights love. Who am I thinking of?
Yeah. Ramona Pasquale.
Yeah, dude, just wrecking the division on her way to the title. Nunes. As the late, great Gorilla Monsoon would say, Weezy, this could headline anywhere in the country.
That's right. Yes.
As far as your Aldana shot, I get it with the number. But, what number would you be like, I'm not betting this? Are you betting her at 2-1? Or are you betting her at plus 150?
I'm still betting her at plus 200.
All right. I mean, that's where, man... Look, if I lose, I lose. If it's her time, it's her time. I just I didn't bet Nunes last fight. Yeah. I didn't bet Pena either. I'm just like, fuck that. Actually, no, I had the under like an asshole.
Oh.
I bet. Right. So I'm like, oh, it's just going to
Ugh.
stop it. They're going to stop it. They're going to, nope. So, but like, good luck to you on the bet. I'm not
Yeah.
I'm not going to bet this until the pay-per-view. Like, I'm not betting it. It's not going to be on Bet MMA Tips. Like, I'm not doing it till the card starts. So we'll see where I'm at.
I just think people are going to be shocked, man. Like, I really think she has what it takes. I mean, I could be completely wrong. I mean, I'm fading the woman goat of the MMA. I mean, I could look like a complete idiot. Like, Lou, I was on Cyril Gane against John Jones. That could just tell you.
So was I. So was I.
You were on him too? Okay. I'm not alone. I mean, that was the worst bet I've ever had.
Well, at least it was over.
One-sided.
But here's the thing. So we bet Gane because we're like, look, he's active. His striking is good. And then the fight starts. You're like, ah, shit.
Yeah, I'm like,
John
fuck
Jones.
this.
You're like, oh, shit. You're like, oh, shit, it's John Jones. Like, whoops. So that's what, like, I'm like, I don't want to, like, really get fooled by this.
Yeah. Saying, Glenbot saying Nunes by prison rape. I mean, that's probably how she'll win. It's prison rape. UFC Egg saying Pena was just walking into those shots and getting dropped. She had no plan B. I feel like that's just Julianne. Just Pena striking in every single fight that she's in. Glenbot saying Aldana is not a power bottom. I mean, she's got pop and she's technical with her shots. Nunes is open and she overextends. I mean, it doesn't take power a lot of the time. It takes technical, it takes speed, and it takes power with the shot. It's just not all power. Especially, like, I mean, I think she can crack her.
I'll give Aldana credit for one thing. She is more likely out of the two of them to win a Lou Diamond Phillips lookalike contest. Like, for sure.
I don't know. Who is that? I don't know who that is.
You don't know LDP? Lou Diamond Phillips? Weezy's like, I fucking hate working with in his head, he's like, I fucking hate working with Lou.
Weezy's like, fuck.
Kinda. Not looks like Lou Diamond Phillips? Come on, man.
You got Mushroom saying Aldana struggling with Chiesa is a terrible look. Yeah, it is a little bit of a bad look, but, you know, Macy also asked for the fight to be at 140, and Aldana agreed to it, and she was cutting for 35. I understand it's 5 pounds extra, but Macy definitely was more than 140 on fight night. There's no doubt in my mind that she was more than that. Mushroom saying great guest and great guest prop. Yeah, of course. I'm glad. Thank you, Lou. Thank you, Weezy, for coming on the show. Appreciate you guys coming on. Tell everyone where they can find you guys. Weezy, you first. I think you're muted.
All usuals in the room here. You already know where you can find me, dude. Uncle Weezy's YouTube channel, Pub Sports, MMA Engine. Let's stack them high.
Hell yeah, Lou.
I just want to take the time. Thank you for having me on, by the way. I always love working with Weezy. Thanks for having me on the channel. I love all the people in chat. There are usuals. You know my usual schedule. All I want to tell you is this week, I did a Belmont breakdown. It's on the MMA Engine channel. Because when you think Belmont horses, do you think Lou and you think MMA Engine? I don't fucking know. I recorded a Champions League video for Saturday and realized my mic wasn't on the entire video. So I'm going to have to do that one again. Rookie mistake. But don't worry about that, guys, because Saturday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, I am going to go over all the bets for the weekend in MMA, for the horse race, and for the Champions League. And what will that show be? It will be the LouBetya Jr. Saturday Sports Jackpot Wad, sponsored by Royal Dance Danish Butter Cookies. Royal Dance Danish Butter Cookies. They may taste but you can put your weed in here.
Yeah, that's
Royal
right.
Dance. See you Saturday at 11 a.m. All sports. I may have guest handicappers. All welcome to join, give their hot takes on air. But please go watch the Belmont video because I worked really hard on it for 20 minutes.
Hell yeah, can't wait. And might have to eat those cookies. I think you just sold me on, man.
Yeah, I think this is see, this is nothing. It's a prop.
Everyone, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate thank you, Weezy. Thank you, Lou. Thank you guys for coming in. Thank you, chat, as always. Without you guys, this wouldn't be possible. And I linked Weezy's Discord, I linked his Patreon, I linked his YouTube, and I linked the MMA Engine, and I linked Lou's Twitter as well. all up. My link to my Discord is in the description below. My link to my Twitter is in the description below. And my link to my Bet MMA tips is in the description below. Thank you, everyone, for coming in live. Really appreciate you guys. Edging on 2 hours now. Thank you, everyone who's been here the whole time. And yeah, everyone drop the like. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. If you guys are listening, not to the live, thank you, everyone, for listening as well. Make sure you guys drop the like button as well. And yeah, let's make some money. Thank you for tuning in, everyone. And peace out.